Hello everyone, in this video I will show the update of the Curve Loft add-on. Now the arrangement function works differently, twist has appeared, shrinkwrap has been slightly changed. I will show those functions that were not included in previous videos. The top panel belongs to the Curve Work add-on. It is designed for faster work with curves. As you can see, a new panel has appeared, the old arrangement button is no longer there. This mannequin is completely made using the Curve Loft add-on. I'll delete the Curve Loft object to show it from the beginning. Let's create a loft curve, turn on smooth, add subdivision to make it softer. Let's loop because we have a circular shape here. We will adjust the grid if it is not enough for you. I think now you remember a little about how to work with a loft curve. Now for the new feature, you can click on the loft object and click on the arrangement button. In the list, your objects are numbered, and you can also enable the numbering of your curves. Numbers are placed on the origin of the object. If you have a mixture of numbers, it means that the origin of the object overlaps. Look, suppose we wanted to put a square profile here instead of the circle. Select the curve and place a 3D cursor with rotation here so that we don't need to rotate the new curve. Now click Align Active Object to 3D Cursor. Now to remove the circle we need to select it in the list. It has a number at the beginning. The number is also highlighted in green in the viewport, and press minus, the object will be disconnected from Loft. To attach a square to this place, you need to select the square as active, and select in the list after which object you want to add it to the Loft, look at the numbering, and press plus. As you can see, he was added and became the fourth. Previously this was not possible, now you can. For example, we want to add an object at the very beginning. You select the active object and select the 0 object in the list and press plus. Look, it was added after the 0 object, and now you just need to press the up arrow to swap their numbering in the loft. Look, if you duplicated the curve and you don't have numbering on it, just select the loft object and click Arrangement and the list will update. You can also enable selection and select curves using the list. For example, curves that are difficult to highlight. Also, for example, if you wanted to change the order of some curves, then you can drag them to the desired places. Just select the desired curve by number in the list and use the arrows to change the numbering. I'll show you again. Look, you have the order 3 then 4, then there should be 5 but you have 6. So you need to move 6 up so that it becomes 5. or move object 5 down the list so it becomes 6th. I hope you understand this principle. All this opens up a number of possibilities that I can implement in future updates, so I hope it became clearer to you after the explanation. I tried to be more detailed. Let's put it back in place. It seems like the hand was a little different. Okay, let it be like this. If you want to turn off numbering, simply uncheck the box. If you suddenly deleted all the curves, the numbering remains and cannot be turned off, then click the trash button. It will erase the list, and then turn the numbering on and off. That's all. Now the numbering doesn't appear. Look, this is another Loft object. Now when you click on it, click Arrangement so that the list is rearranged under another Loft. I think there are extra curves here that are not easy to select, but now we can select them and remove them. This is just a point to make you relax a little. You may not have thought about it, but Loft can work with other modifiers. I will show you with the example of a mirror. Let's create a Bezier curve and move it in edit mode so that the origin is slightly outside the curve. Let's reduce the size a little and rotate it. Now we will duplicate the curve and rotate it along the z-axis. Now you can make Loft. I did it by eye, but you do it by degrees. You can make completely different shapes using Curve Loft. Let's add a mirror modifier to make it look more like a flower. I'll move the curve a little so they don't stick together. Since thoughts about the future now prevent me from living in the present, I need to hide a detail from the future. Perhaps, like me, it's not convenient for you to select curves now. You can block the Loft object from selection, then selecting curves will become easier. Just don't forget to unlock it back later if you want to change its settings or apply. Now you can select everything like this and edit several curves at once. but you might want to do this more accurately along the axes. In this case, you need to switch to the individual origin and set the orientation to normal. Now the extrude with the z-axis will continue the curve along the normal. Also, this will allow you to rotate the curve points at the same time. I just move the points and shape it. Look at that flower, the edges are rounded, but ours are sharp. Now I'll show you how to do it. Let's make another extrude, lower these points lower and bend them, also reduce the size of the manipulators. Now select the edge points, reduce them, make a scale by switching individual origin to median point. Also make the handles of the adjacent points a little smaller and rotate the points a little towards the tip of the petal. You can add a point and adjust any place in more detail. Enable merge in the mirror modifier, and you can do something like this. And don't forget about the curve loft, this means you can adjust the mesh at any time. Let's change the shape a little. I want there to be more connection. I'll add points and bring them closer. You can also activate the smooth modifier and move it lower if necessary. Also control the smooth for a smoother shape or add a subdivision. I won't say that this is the best method for retopology, but you should know that you have the opportunity to use Loft in this way. Let's say the mesh is terrible. We need to make a loft that completely covers the model close enough so that we still have detail. Let's create a model outline from curves. Create a rectangle and align it to the shape. Align to the edge. A small digression, I rotated the curves in edit mode and now I don't have the correct axes. In the projection modeling add-on there is a function that sets the correct axis on plane curves. Let's use the curve mirror function from the curve work add-on. Now we need to make a union curve. That's it, we have an approximate outline of the shape. I'll make some adjustments. Duplicate the curve and create a loft. I specifically chose a distorted shape to make it more difficult and more clearly show what is special about this retopology method. The better the curve follows the contour of the object, the more correct the retopology will be. Add mesh where there is not enough of it and remove it where there is too much. The shrinkwrap function has been slightly improved. Now, if you want to use it for retopology, select the loft object and select the active object on which you want to perform the retopology. Switch the visibility of the loft object on top of other objects. Add a subdivision. A start has been made. Now we need to continue our loft, while we must bend around the object so that it follows the bend. As soon as your loft gets bad, that means you need to add more curve, or curve doesn't fit the object's outline well enough. Then you duplicate the curve. It is very important to understand that each curve has a beginning and an end. I talked about this in previous videos, so in order for the mesh to also rotate in accordance with the object, you also need to rotate the profile of the curve. Correction of profiles is necessary because shrinkwrap is designed in such a way that it sticks to the nearest geometry. The more accurately you match the contour, the more correctly it will fit on the mesh. Also, if you have a new part, you can add curve vertices and highlight it in your profile. It's probably not very noticeable here. I think the basic principle is clear, so I'll show you a little more in an accelerated form, and then I'll show the results separately. Let's turn on the smooth and see what we got. I think this is pretty good considering that you can also apply a smooth modifier and control the amount of mesh. I think I was a little hasty with the drawing. This is the main point, your curve profiles should repeat not only the shape but also the direction of rotation. If you comply with this, then you should have a good retopology. Let me remove this and just show you the perfect mesh that I managed to achieve. It's a little difficult for me to record video, sorry, I chose the wrong object. Now this is definitely a loft. You can customize everything. There is also a function that turns the selected loop into a curve. If you have geometry that is not too broken, it will be faster to use this method. It's better to do it one at a time. Well, that's all. In this case everything is much simpler. The more detailed you cut it into curves, the more it will correspond to the shape. The shrinkwrap function has a second use. This is when you use it on a lofted curve and on a mesh object. Add a sphere. In the first case you select a loft object and a mesh object. In the second case you select the curve involved in the loft and the mesh object. See the first reason why shrinkwrap may not work. Your origin is unknown where and your z-axis is not perpendicular to the curve. As soon as you fix it, everything works. Your loft is magnetized to the sphere. To disable, select the curve and click on shrinkwrap. I'll show you this with a simpler object. In the case of a shrinkwrap curve on a mesh object, it projects the curve without distortion. If the curve goes beyond the object, in size or in place, then the shrinkwrap will either not work or half, so your curve should be slightly smaller than the object on which it is magnetized. Also, a new feature added in this update is twist. Let me delete the old one. Let's make an array of curves. Curve work allows you to do this without turning the curves into a mesh. Create a loft according to the standard and add a subdivision. Select the loft object and press twist. Each curve in the loft, except the first, will be rotated by the angle specified below relative to each previous curve along the local z-axis. You can also then rotate the elements you want manually. The tutorial has been going on for a long time. I hope you're drinking your coffee. I've been working on this video for 4 days now. I'll skip creating a loft object, just look at the beautiful twist. In this add-on there is also a function that works along the path. We select a set of curves and the active path along which the loft should go. Let's reduce the scale a little. You can also click on this object and press twist. Your set of curves will rotate, and you can change what you want at any time in the editing mode of these curves. I didn't show it in the first paragraph, but the arrangement function also works in path mode. Bevel modifier function for curves, just some way to give rounder corners to any curve in loft. Two operating modes, the first in which the number of points on the chamfer is determined automatically by the resolution of the curve, the second poly mode you can manually specify the number of points on the chamfer. When you expand a curve in edit mode, you will also have rounded corners. If you liked this update, please like it. If this is your first time with us, subscribe. I'm always glad to see new people. See you in the next video.